Hello, students. This is Joseph Holbrook, Professor of History and Religious Studies at Florida International University. And today we begin our second week and our third lecture or video on the history of Christianity, an introduction. We're using Alistair McGrath's book by the same name, History of Christianity, an Introduction. And today we're going to talk about early Christianity and the Roman Empire. So let's jump right in. So we're in week 2A. This is our third video, Early Christianity and the Roman Empire, pages 16 to 23 of Alistair McGrath's excellent book. And today we're talking about early Christianity and the Roman Empire. So our outline will be discussing the Roman Empire, Christianity and the imperial cult, Christianity and Judaism, and the role that Marcion of Sinope played in this drama. Then Christianity and pagan culture, and the writings of Justyn Martyr and his thoughts about the Logos Spermatikos. And then we'll discuss a little bit about the early Christian worship and life. So the Roman Empire reached its high point, according to some historians, under the Emperor Trajan from 98 to 117. Christianity had had its origins in Judea, a relatively obscure part of the Roman Empire and politically insignificant, but it would expand rapidly within the empire outside of Judea and Palestine, eventually becoming the official religion in a very short period of several centuries. The Roman imperial context was formative for the rise and shaping of Christianity. The expansion of Rome began during the Republic. Before that, it was a monarchy. The early history of Rome was a monarchy with Roman kings. However, political weakness led to power being centralized in a single figure of authority sometime after Julius Caesar. The emperor, and my light just went out. Let me pause this and go back. So because the word king had a bad connotation for Romans because of their earlier history, they chose a different word from the Latin word imperator, one who gives orders. In other words, the boss man. So the emperor was the boss man, the one giving orders instead of king. For political reasons, the supreme ruler was not referred to as king, as this term was regarded as no longer being acceptable because of the abuses of power in the pre-Republican era. It was during the reign of the first emperor, or boss man, Caesar Augustus, that the Gospel of Luke places the birth of Jesus of Nazareth. And the Roman Empire developed a civil religion, which linked the veneration or worship of the Roman boss man or emperor as an expression of allegiance to the Roman state. A dead emperor who was held worthy of the honor could be voted a state divinity, which in Latin was a divus, and could be incorporated into the Roman pantheon. And of course, the Christians had a problem with this. Refusal to take part of this imperial cult was regarded as an act of treason. And Jews were exempt because Judaism was a legally recognized religion. But Christians, even though they were a reforming branch of Judaism, were not viewed as a legally recognized religion. So this placed Christians in the difficult position of having to choose to violate their conscience by committing what they considered to be idolatry of the emperor, or to suffer the consequences of persecution. The word religio in Latin means to bind together. So the administrative and commercial links established by the Roman Empire made it easy for new ideas to spread, especially religious ideas. There were several factors making this possible: a common language, ease of transport, the movement of peoples, and immigration from the colonies to Rome. The Latin term religio derives from a root meaning to bind together. So one of the social functions of religion is to bind together the public community. Religion was primarily understood in terms of devotion. In Latin, the word is pietas, a social activity and attitude that promoted unity and loyalty to the state. The political background against which the early Romans' suspicion of Christianity to be set is dominated by the imperial cult. This was a highly elevated review of the Roman emperor, resulting from the achievements of Augustus. He was widely regarded as a divus. It was not regarded as necessary for imperial figures to be dead before they recorded some form of divine status. At least some members of the imperial family, such as Julius Caesar, were treated as divine during their lifetime. The cult was especially strong in the Eastern Empire, such as the city of Corinth and the region of Galatia, which were centers of St. Paul's activity during his life. Imperial festivals became an important part of the life of Corinth during the first half of the first century. Julius Caesar was important to this cult, since he gave Corinth the status of a Roman colony before his death. In Galatia, the imperial cult had become firmly established by the first decade of the century. A great historical data point that we have about the plight of early Christians is a famous letter of Pliny the Younger, written to the Emperor Trajan and dating about 112 of the Common Era. In this letter, Pliny asks for advice about how to deal with the growing number of Christians who refuse to worship the image of the Roman emperor. It is quite clear from Pliny's letter that Christianity was suspect on account of its refusal to worship the emperor, which suggested that it was bent on overthrowing the existing social order. The refusal of Christians to conform to the imperial cult helps us understand the tendency of Roman critics of Christianity to ridicule it as a form of atheism. This makes no sense if atheism is understood in the modern sense of the term, which is rejection of belief in God. Atheism was widely used in classical culture to refer to a rejection of the official state religion. Socrates, for example, was forced to commit suicide for 4 centuries before the apostolic age because of atheism. That is, he was rejecting or questioning the Athenian state religion. It's difficult to see how Christian theology can avoid being influenced and shaped by a variety of cultural and philosophical sources. One contemporary example would be how business and corporate entrepreneurship in our capitalist society influence the functioning and structure of churches, even the leadership dynamics. So in this apostolic age, consider the question, can God suffer? Many writers within the Hellenistic tradition worked with an essentially philosophical notion of God, which emphasized perfection as a core divine characteristic. But how could a perfect being suffer? Suffering was a mark of imperfection, of decay or change, characteristics of the material world, but not of the unchanging divine nature. Aristotle's view of God was of the prime mover, an unchanging, perfect, timeless being, and that image of a divine being could not possibly suffer. Marcion of Sinope enters the picture around 110 to 160 of the Common Era. He was a wealthy Christian in Rome, and he advocated the opposite approach. By this time, Christianity had gained a significant following in the imperial capital, and Marcion wanted to bring about a fundamental change to the relationship with Christianity and Judaism. He believed that Christianity ought to sever all links with Judaism and should have nothing to do with its God or its beliefs or its rituals. He believed a clean break was necessary. The God of the Old Testament was a war god who had nothing to do with the Christian God, said Marcion. Marcion thus developed his own authorized collection of Christian documents, his own personal canon, which excluded the works which he regarded as contaminated by Jewish ideas or association. So, of course, Marcion's biblical canon excluded the entire Old Testament. It also omitted the New Testament works which seemed sympathetic to Judaism, such as the Gospel of Matthew. Marcion's Bible consisted simply of 10 of Paul's letters, along with the Gospel of Luke. Yet Marcion was obliged to edit even these works in order to remove the contaminating influences with some connection of Jesus and Judaism. So this brings us to Justyn Martyr, who believed that to understand the identity and significance of Jesus, it was necessary to tell other stories and to explore how they interlocked and interrelated. One of those stories, for example, is the story of God's creation of the world, which of course is found in Genesis. Another story that was essential was God's calling of Israel. And a third story that was essential for Gentiles that you find in Acts chapter 17 in Paul's address in Athens. It tells the age-old human quest for meaning and significance. For Justyn Martyr, the story of Jesus intersects all three, ultimately to provide their fulfillment. Jesus is the focal point from which all other stories can be seen and on whom all converge. One of the most important debates in the early church concerned the extent to which Christians could appropriate the immense cultural legacy of the classical world, such as its poetry, its philosophy, art, literature. One early and influential answer to this important question was given again by Justyn Martyr, who lived from 103 to 165. He was a 2nd century writer who pointed out the parallels between Christianity and the Greek philosophy of Plato. It is important to note that Justyn speaks of Christianity as a philosophy. At the time, this term meant more than simply a construct of ideas or a system of ideas. Philosophy in this time was much more about a way of living as a way of thinking. For Justyn Martyr, Christianity brought the quest of the ancient world for wisdom to fulfillment. Both the Jewish law and the Logos of Plato were fulfilled in Christ, according to Justyn Martyr. God has sown the seeds of divine wisdom throughout the world, which meant that Christians could and should expect to find aspects of the gospel reflected outside the church. Justyn Martyr developed a Christianized version of the Stoic idea of the seed-bearing word, Greek Logos Spermatikos, which originates from God and is divinely planted in the human mind. You'll find this idea of the seed-bearing word being spread throughout humanity, or the Logos Spermatikos of Justyn Martyr. You'll find this idea in several books. One is called Eternity in Their Hearts by Don Richardson. Another one is called Bruchko by Bruce Olson, the story of his living among the Motilone Indians. And then a third book that I feel contains this concept is the Parables of the Kingdom. And I just forgotten the name of the author, but it'll come back to me later. But he talks about the word being sown and the seed being sown in the soil, the different kinds of soil, as along the same lines as Justyn Martyr, as the seed-bearing word being sown throughout the world. So Justyn Martyr's idea of the Logos Spermatikos is similar to Paul's idea about natural revelation, found in his letter to Romans in Acts chapter 17. So Justyn says all right principles that philosophers and lawgivers have discovered and expressed they owe to whatever of the word they have found and contemplated in part. The reason why they have contradicted each other is they have not known the entire word, capital W, which is Christ. For Justyn, Christians were therefore free to draw on the riches of classical culture, in that whatever has been said well ultimately draws upon divine wisdom and insight. So Justyn commends the study of Greek philosophy because it allows Christians to be able to communicate effectively in that time period with secular culture. Nevertheless, there was some pushback. His critics felt that it equated Christianity with classical culture, apparently suggesting that Christian theology and Platonism were simply different ways of viewing the same divine realities. The most severe criticism came from Tertullian, who was a 3rd century Roman lawyer who was converted to Christianity. One of his famous quotes is, "What has Athens to do with Jerusalem? What relevance has the Platonic Academy for the Church? Christianity must maintain its distinctive identity," says Tertullian, "by avoiding such secular influences." So, in terms of Christian life and worship, Christianity could not be a public religion in the Roman Empire as Judaism was, because it lacked official religious recognition and protection. There were no buildings dedicated to public Christian worship. It's easy to see why the secrecy surrounding Christian gatherings and worship roused suspicions among ordinary Roman citizens. Rumors rapidly developed that Christians indulged in orgies and cannibalism. One source of information about early church order and Christian living, dating from the late 1st or early 2nd century, was known as the Didache, or Didache, a Greek word meaning teaching. This work describes how Christians gathered together on the Lord's Day. Justyn Martyr, in his first apology in Rome, about 155, also described several Christian worship services where people were baptized. He specifically describes the person who presides during the Eucharist as the president. In other words, the person who is presiding, president. He avoided the term priest or pastor. And then there's some discussion about why Christians met on the first day of the week, on Sunday, and it was, according to Justyn Martyr, because it was the day of creation and the day on which Jesus was raised from the dead. And early church organization was not well organized, even in Rome, partly on account of the difficulties in coordination while the Christian movement remained illegal. Although there were leaders among the Christians, they were unable to exercise any kind of centralized control. The Greek terms episcopos, which is bishop, diakonos, deacon, and presbyteros, which means elder, were all used to refer to leaders of the Christian community, but these words were taken from secular culture to refer to administrative positions within large households of the day. The episcopos was the household administrator or domestic supervisor. The diakonos was a servant, and the presbyteros was a senior member of the household, in other words, an old person. Christianity appears to have taken over familiar secular words and invested them with specifically Christian meanings, referring to the household of faith. At this early stage, there is no suggestion that a bishop had oversight of a group of churches or an ecclesiastical region. At this point, the bishop was simply a leader of a single Christian community. The Roman churches in the 2nd century are best perhaps compared to secular Roman clubs or societies known in Latin as collegium, or to Jewish synagogues, essentially independent associations with no centralized control. And that finishes our lecture for today. And I will continue on Wednesday with our fourth lecture and our second lecture for week 2. I know that's a little confusing. So we'll continue on Wednesday. Thank you very much. Let me know if you have any questions or want to reach out with any commentary. Take care.